Welcome to Diaries with myself, Oliver, Dungeon Master. Welcome to my room. That's where you are right now. You can see my computer there. This is probably going to be the angle which I film these, because it's an interesting angle. I'm looking damn good as well, if I do say so myself, which of course I do, because wow, I mean, it's not really fair on the rest of you, me over here hogging up all the handsome, but anyway, this series is essentially a chance for you to see behind the DM screen and figure out what's going on in my head, what I had planned for the sessions, and what actually ended up happening. I'm just going to be talking about also my journey as a DM, how I'm evolving and growing, because Eyes of Elisia and Black Winter Nights are the first games that I've ever DM'd officially. I did run a couple of games over Skype for my little nephews, who I hope are watching this. Hey guys. But yeah. So Black Winter Nights and Eyes of Elisia were my first ever games, and I'm still learning and evolving and growing, and this is kind of your chance to see me progress, and also maybe we'll talk about some specific moments that happen in those games. But first I'd just like to talk about D&D, and I just realised I put my feet up over there. Oh, that's nice. We'll just talk about D&D. I got into this because my friend Ben invited me to a game. He's a comedian and successful comedian, and he invited me to his game, so I created a character called Switch, who was a halfling rogue. And Switch was half of the puzzle that was Switch and Blade. And Blade, I now play, is currently her current incarnation. I'm playing through Pathfinder with my boss. I work in a shop that sells D&D supplies and some other things. So my first ever experience with D&D was, in fact, playing a halfling rogue called Switch. Now, Switch himself, when he was split up from Blade, was the more ambitious of the two, of the duo. But without Blade, the intelligent side, to rein him in, with Switch kind of allowed to do whatever he wants, did not go so well. He ended up getting hung for thievery on the walls of Neverwinter Castle. So then, once he died, I started playing instead as his counterpart Blade, and followed her story. And that was my first really introduction to Dungeons and Dragons, and that was not too long ago. That was last year, I think. I'm bad with times, I have no idea. A while ago I said to my flatmates, hey, do you remember that time that we had the really big pizza? And they said, yes, Oliver, that was last week. Terrible with times. Anyway, so that was my first introduction. And then immediately, because I come from a performer background, I'm an actor, I've been doing improv for like 13 years, branching off into stand-up comedy this year as well, just taking it in a different direction. So, I'm a performer, I've always been a performer at heart. When I discovered this new medium of storytelling, where there was a lot of improv involved, which I love, and the fact that you were all working together to create this story, you could do some really wonderful things, and there were no rules. I found that fascinating. So immediately, after a couple of months of playing, I was like, right, I have to Dungeon Master, I have to do this. So I started putting together a game. I bought the core books online, and at that point I was not working where I currently work, otherwise I would have been able to get a staff discount on them, because we sell the core books. But I got the core books. And if I'm honest, I haven't actually read through the entire Player's Handbook or Dungeon Master's Guide. I'm going to, I just have not yet. And then I faced the question of, do I want to do a pre-gen campaign, do I create my own? And obviously being a creative person, am I creative? I decided that I would do, I would do my own campaign. So I stole a bit of the Sword Coast, and because I couldn't be bothered creating my own map at that time, and I put a thing out online. I basically just said, hey, does anyone want to play some D&D? And I thought, yeah, in a couple of weeks I'll have my answers. Within 20 minutes I had 6 players. Yep, sweet, we want to play. Because you guys will have noticed this, D&D is hot right now. Anyway, I created my first game, which later became Black Winter Nights. And they were lovely people. It was really quite wonderful. And then after a couple of months of play, we kind of got into the rhythm of it. And I kind of understood, okay, this is what I'm like as a Dungeon Master. Of course I'm still evolving and growing, but kind of found a style, which was cool. And then I thought to myself, I want to do this more. So I put another thing online. Hey, I'm looking to run a second game set in the same world, on the same continent. The world is Elisia, the continent is Ukast. Does anyone want to play? Again, within half an hour, I had, 6 players. And then I met Dave. Dave was part of Eyes of Elisia. And we were playing, we actually used to play at my work at Caffeinated Dragon games. And he after a couple of sessions, he was like, we should get these online. And I said, yeah, I've been thinking about that. I really want to do that. I'm just very, very lazy. And he said, well, fear not, I am the most productive person that you'll ever meet, which is probably true. Boom, within a couple of weeks we had the games online. And that's what you've been seeing now on the D20 Multiverse. Without Dave, there would be no D20 Multiverse. It wouldn't even be close to where it is. So, thank you, Dave. We love you. But anyway, that was kind of like my introduction to D&D and how the games got started. There were some changes. Players came and left as their schedules kind of messed up. You may have noticed that Archaean from Black Winter Nights actually started off as Isgrim in Eyes of Elisia, but then his work schedule changed. He could no longer play in Eyes of Elisia, so we put him into Black Winter Nights. Of course, we've had a couple of guests on the show. We've had Ben, the comedian that got me into D&D. He played Fletch, the Hallowed One, the Walker, the man without a story. My sister actually played as an 8th level druid who came to the party in a time of need and gave them a scroll of teleportation. Is that everyone? Oh, my best friend, Brutal Dan, came up from Christchurch to play as a member of the Harsh Strikes in Eyes of Elisia, the underground force working under the guise of being part of Kundar Diako's army, but really working to overthrow him and destroy him. We had Archaean Eyes of Elisia actually started as a guest character who befriended the party under the guise of being just an adventurer wanting to stop Lord Nyath, but then led them into a trap and was actually working for Nyath the entire time, led the party straight into his hands, and battle ensued, and then the Chaos Orb was activated. It was interesting. It was really interesting. Lord Nyath activated the Chaos artifact, known as the Chaos Orb, and I essentially rolled a d4. 1 and 2, they go into the past. 3 and 4, they go into the future, and I rolled a 2. So the party got thrown back 100 years into the time of the Iron War, which was part of the history of my world, Elisia. 100 years ago, there was this great war when Lord Arsa and King Hyle just wanted all the land, so they went to war. The party gets thrown back 100 years, along with the guy who had led them into the trap, Archaean. But they realised that he only led them into the trap because he was under the spell of Lord Nyath and being thrown back 100 years. That broke that spell. So he eventually became a member of the party. After having, I'm just gonna take a sec, check my hair. Yep, we're good. After being a one-shot character that was essentially a double agent, eventually became a member of the party, which is basically the story of Archaean. There's been times when I've been more inspired by one game. Sometimes I'm more inspired by Black Winter Nights. Sometimes I'm more inspired by Eyes of Elisia. Not to say that I'm ever uninspired. I always find DMing fascinating, and I haven't reached that point yet. I'm sure it will happen eventually, as it does with all kind of creative outputs. Eventually, you hit a point where you need to take a step back. You just don't feel it as much as you did. But so sometimes I'm thinking to myself, I've got more of a, I don't know if exciting is the right word, but I keep clicking my fingers, I don't know what it's about. More of an engagement as a DM in some games, and it's been back and forth between the two. But the last couple of games in both games have been really good. I think we're just kind of hitting our stride as players, and as myself as a dungeon master. I think we're really working together quite well. So, some moments that I want to talk about here on DM Diaries. Essentially, I want to talk about things that, what I intended and what actually happened. With Eyes of Elisia, essentially the starting point for that story, King Morton and Queen Asalia were getting married. King Morton of Gold Shield and Queen Asalia of Blacksteel Castle. And the party was invited to the wedding, as most of Elisia was. And in fact, Ryko the Bard was actually invited to play at the wedding. And I just spilled coffee all over my shirt. It's alright, that's why we're black. So yeah, Ryko the Bard was invited to play at the wedding of King Morton and Queen Asalia, and the rest of the party went with him. However, while Queen Asalia and King Morton were on their balcony watching this performance, 2 tieflings appeared and slit their throats. And as a DM, that was me saying, here's an introduction to the world. Hey look, it's beautiful. Look, there's a big celebration going on. Isn't this nice? Would you like to play a song? Alright, cool. Hey, man, it's so happy. And this was supposed to be a moment of, the Queen Asalia and King Morton were both supposed to die. That was supposed to be what happened. They were supposed to die. And that was going to set up the next big chunk of story. It was going to be like, okay, now these royals, like now King Goldshield has no king and Blacksteel has no queen. and Kunda Diako, the demon force, was, that was his ploy, to weaken the kingdoms and take them over, because essentially he just wants to rule. That's all he wants. But Raiko immediately goes, oh, okay, and they run over, and because they were up on a ledge, but they get up there, and completely unintentionally, from a DM point of view, they heal Queen Elisia, and she lives, and I'm like, okay, yep, cool, sweet, alright, that completely changes the entire arc of this story, and that was, I think, the very first session that we had. That was actually pre-stream, unfortunately, so I don't think we have a clip of that, but yeah, so Queen Elisia, who was supposed to be this kind of minorish plot point, actually now is quite an important NPC in Eyes of Elisia, because they really liked her, and they keep talking to her, because she was a royal. Obviously she's got tools at her disposal. She's got royal griffins, she's got a whole castle. So Queen Elisia went from being this tiny little plot point to now someone that they talk to almost every session using the Whispering Stone. See, yeah. So that was never supposed to happen. She was never supposed to be an NPC. Now she's one of my favourite NPCs. Speaking of things that I planned and that did not go the way I thought. With Black Winter Nights, the party, when my sister was playing the one-shot character, she gave them a scroll of teleportation. At this point, the party had been split 100 years, most of them were 100 years in the past. One of them is back in the present. And I give him the scroll of teleportation, because, in my head, he was going to figure out that he can use the scroll of teleportation along with some magic that his leader of the Unending Moon arc had, to sacrifice old magic. He could combine those two things, and with a single spell, bring the entire party back. That's what I was going to feed him. I was going to give him hints, and that's what it was going to be. Instead, Fletch, the man without a name, he gets told by Ark. He gets told that he's not a real person. He's a culmination of different lives that were around when the rift in time was opened. He was a byproduct of that time magic. He was essentially a whole bunch of stories that that formed into a being, and all his memories were false. He never did any of the things that he thought he did. And then Ark says, if you die, you'll go into the void. There's a chance that you'll be able to live. And I had some other stuff planned for Fletch, and Fletch goes, sweet, kill me. Essentially kills himself and goes into the void. I'm like, okay, alright, cool. But then Fletch starts figuring that while he's watching the Tree of Life, he can kind of get through it and actually alter things. And he does. He takes the chaos, he watches the tree, he takes the chaos orb and snatches it from Naya's hand right before he's going to use it, through the veils of time. And that's how the party came back. So now the party has a scroll of teleportation, which, essentially I'd intended to be part of magic, and now they've got this. It's one use only, but now they've got a pretty powerful item. Some other stuff that just went differently. But all in all, I have to say, I love DMing. I love my players. My players are all really wonderful people. And I honestly feel really lucky, really privileged to be able to hang out with those guys and run my games twice a week. Not only that, but run them online and have you guys out there commenting and giving our videos likes and even donating to the stream. I mean, you guys are wonderful. And it's just such a fun storytelling medium. And when emotions are running high and it's intense moments, nothing beats it, I think. So I'm gonna log off for now. But thank you guys so much for all your support on the D20 Multiverse. Oliver Dungeon Master. Love you guys. Bye bye.